Okay. Hi, this is Elliot Fishman, and welcome to Facebook Live and Instagram Live. It's great to be here. Today is Friday. I'm not sure what time it is, but I think it's 12. I know it's 12 o'clock. I'm not sure what date it is. I think it's like maybe the 13th or something. So we're down to the last 2 weeks of the year. It's amazing this year. We said this before, how quickly we went from RSNA into Christmas break. So I'm sure like most of you, I got a million phone calls the last couple of days. Everyone's in a rush to finish things for next year, and we're finishing a lot of stuff also. So we just finished. I just gave to Lily the pearls for the January issue. I'm recording the quiz for January today. We have the first few lectures done. See behind me there, keep an eye out for CTisus 3D, CT, which was imparted RSNA, coming to the Apple Store in 2020, middle of 2020, middle of January 2020. So I think that's going to be terrific. We just finished up. We argued out many different parts of the apps to make it as user-friendly as possible. And I think the final version you're really going to like. It's really spectacular. I was also looking at trying to figure out what to talk about this week and the next couple of weeks. So I thought one thing we talk about would be cinematic rendering. Now, it's interesting, and so one thing is, let me just say a shout out. So when we started, the way we got started with the cinematic rendering was 3 or 4 years ago. Judith Reagan, who works for Siemens, told me that this cinematic rendering was going well, and with Robert Schneider, who was one of the key developers, really the godfather of doing the process. And I was going over to visit Siemens to participate in a workshop. So we got together, we met, we looked at some cases, and I said we would do it. So that was about 3.5 years ago, something like that. And we've published more than 30 papers. We're really doing a lot of really good things, I think, with patient care, as you see in the background, with education. I think we're really getting started. I think we're really doing well. So it's with sadness and I guess happiness as well that Judith Reagan, who I've worked with for several decades, is retiring from Siemens. She's going to travel the world with her husband, retiring next week. So we wish Judith only the best, and hopefully we'll see her again as she travels around on her motorcycle and whatever else she travels around on. But it also makes the point, I think, about collaboration with people, that it's really, you don't work with big organizations, you work with individual people. And she was really terrific, helping us push through the process and also keeping us on target and making sure we did our share of the work. And I think it's really good. And I think it's a good thing for companies and institutions to learn that if you want to collaborate, you really need to collaborate. Most people talk about collaboration. Most people talk about doing something, and usually nothing ever gets done. It's a lot of talk. This was not a lot of talk. This was a lot of action. So that part we're very grateful for. And it's kind of funny. They asked us to get some stuff for her, I think her farewell dinner is next week. So in fact, we won the image of the year. Not that we submitted it, but someone else submitted it. The last 2 of the last 3 years, 17 and 19. With Aunt Minnie, including this year, which is 19. Excuse me. And both of those were cinematic, so we sent them to Judith as well. So that part's very exciting. Now, cinematic rendering, I thought I would just talk a little bit about this, but I would try to expand the talk really to talk about 3D imaging in general. And we gave this review course at RSNA, one of the refresher courses, on Sunday. We were lucky enough to be chosen to give a course, and it was myself and Linda Chu and Steve Rowe, and the attendance was okay. But one of the things I've noticed with 3D imaging, and I've spoken at a number of meetings over the last 6 weeks, and they were in Florida, and they were in California, and San Diego, and Las Vegas, and Boston, and I think somewhere else, which I can't remember where I was, New Jersey. But the one thing that I noticed when I was giving talks, and I would ask the questions about 3D imaging and post-processing in general, and it's hard to believe, and although everyone has the equipment and the software and things are easier to use, people today are using the 3D post-processing less than they used it 10 years ago. Now, if you ask me why that's the case, it's kind of a little bit, doesn't make any sense, you would say. And it doesn't make sense, but the reality is everything these days is driven by RVUs. All you hear about is how many RVUs are you doing, how many RVUs are you required to do. People don't want to go to conference because they're going to lose RVUs. Some groups have to give people RVUs for going to conference because nobody wants to go to conference. Nobody wants to do administration. Nobody wants to do teaching because human nature is very straightforward. If you only reward for one thing, people will do the one thing you reward for. That's human nature. There's nothing wrong with that. But the same thing with imaging is you're getting paid to read the study. If you spend a lot of time on the study, you're getting paid the same. If you get more slices, you get paid the same as having less slices. It's not like it's a pizza parlor where every slice you get $2.50. And if you do 3D imaging, you may get a little bit of money, but it's a little bit of money. And in some institutions, it's really no money. Things are bundled in, or just the way they get paid, it doesn't matter. And so what you've driven is people to behave like you would expect them to behave. You want me to read? I'll read. I'm not doing more. I'm not doing surely anything that doesn't get reimbursed. I'm not doing anything that's for free. And the problem is this is in direct conflict with patient care because in a lot of cases, 3D imaging in general, but specifically cinematic rendering, helps with staging, extent of disease, may detect disease, define disease, all the things we write about and have written about and we speak about some of our talks. The issue then is how do you change this cycle? I kind of worry about it. The ACR speaks about value over volume. And then you would argue, and we've said for a number of years, that, okay, value is doing 3D imaging, post-processing, all things that make the clinician's job easier. But for us to say value over volume, I'm not really sure what that means because no one's paying you for value. It's not like I did something and they gave me 10 more RVUs, or I didn't do something and I got 5 less RVUs. This value over volume is only a reality. It sounds good. It sounds like a tagline for elections. It sounds like, I don't know, Republican, Democrats, every candidate. Value over volume. That sounds really good. But what does it mean exactly? Does that mean if I do half the number of cases, I'm going to be able to bill more? No. If you do half the number of cases, you're going to bill half. It's like at RSNA, they were talking about AI and saying, oh, AI is great. I agree, that's true. But they're saying AI, we have AI. Oh, it's going to read all the films, and we'll have more time to talk to the patients. Listen, if the AI is reading the films, they're going to get your ass out of there. They ain't paying you to talk to the patients. That's what their primary physicians do. No one's going to pay you to talk to patients. We need to talk to patients. We need to engage our patients. But you need to do that within the realm of reading the cases and using the AI and using everything else. If you're in a situation where you're not needed to read the films, you're not needed. You need to add value to reading the films. You need to use AI and 3D imaging to enhance the information and the experience of the referring doc and the outcomes of your patients. That's what you need to do. So in my mind, if I do 3D and I help the surgeon operate better and they have better outcomes, then I'm giving added value and perhaps I should then get some extra money. How you determine that is a little bit tricky. That's where the challenge is, and I can't give you an answer for that. That's a whole nother issue. But I think one of the challenges is we're not in an era of value over volume. We're in an era of volume competing against volume. We're in an era where no matter what you do, the man wants you to do more. We're in an era where it's really, when I speak to people in private practice, and whether it's teleradiology or regular hospitals, they're told how many to read. If they read a little bit more, they get paid a little more. Everything is getting the work done in a timely fashion. I know when I was at meetings the last few weeks speaking to people in academics, they have the same issues, academics or private practice. A lot of these hospitals are taking over private practice groups. Every day they take over another group. they're in 5 boroughs, they're moving from here to there. The radiologist, sometimes you have to go physically move around where you're going. The more you move, the less you're at your home base, the less you're doing academics. I think there has never been a bigger challenge to academics than the current environment. An environment where you need to read more because you get reimbursed less, and you need to reimburse more, you need to read more to get higher volumes and get more money. That's a challenge because reading and writing articles takes time. If you're only reading films, it's important for us to read the films well, but if you're only reading films and you're in academics, you're really not in academics. It's a very fuzzy line. I don't know how this is all going to shake out, but if you look at RSNA, there's less and less academics, particularly from this country. And I congratulate China, and I congratulate South Korea, and I congratulate Israel, and I congratulate Canada. And you name the country, I can congratulate them because they're writing more papers, doing more articles than anybody. We're doing less. There's more competition, we're doing less. I think a lot of the great science is coming from across the ocean, wherever the ocean is, in the Pacific, in the Atlantic. It's really a changing of the guard, perhaps a changing of times. Now, I know at Hopkins, we're very committed not to let that happen. We're committed to really doing excellence in teaching and excellence in clinical work and excellence in research, not exactly in that order, perhaps, but it's really becoming more of a challenge. And I think things suffer. At the end of the day is you only have so much time, and there's so much time you could do on an individual case. You may say, gee, I wish I had the 3D, but I don't have it, and I have to get over it. And I can't afford a lab because we're cutting back on people, not adding people to do things. I can't afford to do it myself. I don't know how, or it's going to slow me down. And then someone's going to be giving me a hard time because my RVUs are not high enough. So I think it's a real conundrum, whatever the word is. It's a problem. Let me put it that way. It's a problem. How do you balance? This balancing is really going to be one of the interesting things as you look to 2020. Everybody talks about life, personal life balance against work, which is critical. This work-life balance thing is very, very hard. We had speakers that talked about balancing really doesn't exist. You have to really be good at every facet, but you can't do everything the same time. I know Julie Fleischlag made the point when she was hired a number of years ago in surgery. She's now the dean at Wake Forest, but she made the point that you can have it all. You just can't have it all at the same time. And that's really, I'm sure she didn't invent that, but it's a really good way of thinking about it, that it's very hard to have everything. And there's something has to be sacrificed, or you can't do everything well. So that is a tremendous challenge in academics. How do you manage getting the work done, getting teaching done, and building your career? I think it's been frustrating to a lot of the junior people. The senior people, I think, have a little bit easier, have a touch more time off, have more experience, and they know a lot of stuff, and they know the people who are running the courses, so they get invited a lot more often. When you're junior, how do you dig out of the box? That's an interesting question, and something that's very, very hard to do. Again, junior people rely on mentoring from senior people. We do that at Hopkins a lot, but no one ever does it enough. And some people don't do it at all. And some departments and institutions don't do it at all. It's a tradition of you repaying people back because people helped you. So at Hopkins, the tradition is strong. But again, in an era of tightening resources, increasing demands for clinical services, and less requirements, it's something that will be an issue. So it is interesting, and I won't belabor that point, but it's something I think we all need to take a look at. I think other things going forward, the cinematic rendering, we have released a whole bunch of the presets. We published really nice articles on Black Blood. We're publishing a bunch of more articles. But this idea about why is there such a slow uptake of technology, which obviously is very rewarding. Again, it's a challenge, and I just don't know how we're going to overcome that challenge. So let me see, people that may use Scott, cost versus outcomes, publish or perish. There has to be more to life than eat, work, sleep. We all have health and hygiene needs. All of that's true. But the question is, with all the truths being equal, who said that? It's a very famous quote. Okay, we know the truths, but what are the facts? What is it you can do? It's the Donald Rumsfeld. We know the knowns. We know the unknowns. We don't know the unknown unknowns. And I think now we're in that unknown category. We don't know what we don't know that we don't know. You know what I mean? We don't know what that we don't know what we don't know. That's really a problem. So I think when you look going forward in this coming year, we have to really rethink about the processes we do. How can we do them better, more efficiently, without losing staff, without everyone being driven crazy, without everyone working beyond their capabilities. So anyone has any ideas, please let us know. And we will be addressing this subject on and off because there is a challenge these days with many things, including the whole process of academics. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what institutions succeed in redefining and reclassifying and redoing the process, because I think the process is broken now in many places and it really needs a significant upgrade. So with that, I used up my time. If you have any questions, drop me a note. If not, have a great week, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye-bye.